Hello, and welcome to Legacy Healthcare's August edition of our 20-minute tune-in. Today I have with me Erin Frederick. Erin is an occupational therapist at Anderson Primrose, which is in Anderson, Indiana. And today we get the opportunity to have a conversation with him about research that he did while he was a student. And that research focused on, is there a correlation between strength and function with ADL performance? So Erin, thank you for being with us. And if you want just to take a couple of minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with Legacy.
Well, I've been with Legacy 1 year today.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. And we are an assisted living and independent living facility, as you said, in Anderson, Indiana, and deal a lot with ADLs, cognition, incontinence, strength and balance. We have an incredible group of residents here. Great.
So what we're going to talk about today is research that you and some of your classmates did while you were in school, and really this idea or this question of, does strength correlate with function? So can you tell us a little bit about where the idea for your research project came from?
We were a group under the leadership of C.J. Liu at IU in Indianapolis, and what we found was the literature was full of good research on correlations between lower extremity strength and function, and there was very little between upper extremity strength and function. And so as occupational therapists, we were very interested in the upper extremity and how it's used in ADLs. So we decided to do a correlational study looking at the correlation between a couple measures of upper extremity strength and then also a functional assessment.
Okay, so now that we have a little bit of background about kind of what drove your research, I'm interested to know the details of the research. So can you discuss what tools that you used and why you chose those particular tools?
Sure. So first of all, we did the study on a group of community-dwelling older adults, and we had about 30 participants, so it's a relevant population to Legacy and a lot of our clinics' clientele. We used the Jepson-Taylor hand function test as our functional performance measure, which is a battery of 7 subtests measuring hand function in different ways. They include things like handwriting, turning cards, stacking checkers, simulated feeding, and moving objects around like cans that are of different weights. So it was a good assessment to use for the time and resources that we had to get a measure of function. It has some limitations that it has very little range of motion of the upper extremity. So I would say that if it came to like dressing, it's not probably the greatest measure of like the range of motion requirements of putting on a shirt or reaching to your toes to tie your shoes. But it was a standardized assessment that we could use. So we also used the JAMR dynamometer as a measure of grip strength to look at the correlation, because this is a very widely used assessment. It's a predictor of longevity. They're in many clinics. And we also used the 30-second arm curl test, which is a subtest of the senior fitness test. So this is using the 5-pound dumbbell for women, 8-pound dumbbell for men, and measuring how many full range of motion, elbow flexion, arm curls a person can do in 30 seconds. So we used that because we found data that it correlates well to full upper body strength. There were studies comparing it to like shoulder flexion, elbow extension, shoulder extension, and it correlated well just to measure the 30-second arm curl test. So with limited resources, we thought that was a great way to just reflect full upper body strength.
Absolutely, and the nice thing about those tools is that they're pretty easy to administer, and your results are going to be quick to interpret, especially that 30-second arm curl test. So now that we have a little bit better understanding of the tools that you used, tell us a little bit about what you found in your research.
So our results were very surprising to us at first, because what we found was that the correlation between grip strength measured by the dynamometer had no significant relationship to performance on this Jebsen hand function test. To any of the subtests of the Jebsen-Taylor hand function test. And we had assumed that there would be a strong correlation because of the use of the hand in all of these functional tasks, and of course, the hand is a key component of all ADLs. So
sure.
We saw no significant correlations. And when we got thinking about it and really analyzing the results and considering why that might be, one of the main explanations that we came to was that there would be a threshold level of grip strength required to complete the Jebsen-Taylor test. And same thing for completing basic ADLs. There's a certain threshold of grip that is required in order to perform these tasks, but it's not high. So we had 30 participants with their grip strengths varying greatly, but not related to their performance on the Jebsen-Taylor. So for example, someone might have 10 pounds of grip strength and be able to perform this test just as well as someone with 70 pounds of grip strength.
Okay.
And so, however, when we looked at the 30-second arm curl test and its correlation with performance on this functional assessment, we found quite a bit of significant correlation, in particular between simulated feeding, stacking checkers, and moving light and heavy objects. So it correlated significantly with about half of the subtests that we measured.
Well, that's fantastic, coming from a company that supports the use of the 30-second arm curl test, which leads me to my next question. If I was participating in that research study as an investigator, I too think I would be surprised at the findings that you did have, especially with the hand strength, because there are so many perceptions, I guess I will say, that hand strength correlates to performance. I think as an OT, it might serve well to understand performance with IADLs versus ADLs and that correlation between grip strength. But I personally like the arm curl test in my practice. So how have you used the information that you learned in this research study and been able to apply it to your practice at Anderson-Primrose?
Well, like you said, the senior fitness test is a legacy-approved standardized test, and the 30-second arm curl is an incredibly convenient 30-second test that we can use as a screening, and in light of this research, it gives us at least some idea of how that patient may perform with basic hand function as it relates to ADLs. Now, like you said, also, IADLs may have a different threshold of grip strength. If someone is doing laundry, or if they are unloading groceries from the car or vacuuming, that sort of function might have a much higher requirement of grip strength. But as far as the basic ADLs, the results here are pretty telling. And being that I work in an mostly with residents of the assisted living facility, they are not completing IADLs on the same level that you would see in independent living or community dwelling. So a lot of their intrinsic daily activities are taken care of by the facility. And so it's a very useful screening for the basic tasks that we expect them to perform.
Absolutely. So, Aaron, what I would like for you to do for us is I want you to pretend like I've never heard of the arm curl test before and walk me through what I would do with a client and using that tool.
So for a female client, you're going to use a 5-pound dumbbell. If able, I like to have the client stand because the range of motion can be, it's easier to have a full range of motion. When someone's sitting in a chair, they can still have a full range of motion. If they must sit, I'd have them scoot all the way to the edge so that there isn't any armrest in the way and they can fully extend their elbow. And you would have a stopwatch and give them a basic instruction on the full range of motion and have them complete as many repetitions as they can in 30 seconds. You can see the norms here, which red is for females, black, at least it looks like red and black here, black is for males. And you would have them complete as many repetitions as they can in that time. Men would complete the assessment with an 8-pound dumbbell.
And what about as they're doing this, as the therapist, are you providing any type of cues for pace or for substitution? How would that work?
A common problem you'll see is a patient not extending the elbow all the way. So I would definitely cue full range of motion. And as soon as you start to see that they are unable to complete a good full repetition, the test would be discontinued, and that would be, however many repetitions they had completed would be their score.
Okay. And what about for those folks that you start to hand, let's say it's a male, and you start to hand an 8-pound dumbbell, and they automatically think there is no way I can lift this heavy of a weight? How do you interact with that client to encourage them or to have them use that particular weight? Because I think that's something that folks will run into.
An 8-pound dumbbell is pretty shocking to most of my patients. And so what I would always do when giving this assessment or any other sort of any sort of other strength activities, I would warm them up gradually. So do muscle preparation with maybe with a 3-pounder, then a 5-pounder, and then go to the full 8-pound resistance. Now, of course, you would want to keep the volume of repetitions low so as to not fatigue them too much to affect the results on the test.
Absolutely. And so, Aaron, what for somebody that may be working in a skilled nursing facility or even at the different levels, how would you encourage the use of this arm curl test? Is it something that should be done routinely throughout a plan of care? Is it something that should be done once and then forgotten about? What are your recommendations?
I would usually use it at progress reports, just like I would with a 9-hole peg test or any other standardized assessment, just to chart progress over the course of care.
Okay. And have you ever used it as a screening tool?
Certainly.
Okay. And so I can envision this particular section as being part of, a health fair or part of even something that can be done prior to or after a health talk where we're talking about strength or ADL performance. I know it can sometimes be difficult to have that conversation with somebody about, well, what difficulties are you having getting dressed or bathing? And the automatic answer is, I can do it. And this is a way to see if there might be some deficits without really broaching the subject of bathing and dressing. So we might be able to capture some folks that we wouldn't otherwise be including because of that inability to have that conversation. So for those of you that may be interested in using the arm curl test, you do have access to the entire senior fitness test, and that can be located on Legacy's new intranet. You can find it by clicking on the Downloads section, and then the Live Well folder, and finally the Therapy Events folder. Within that Therapy Events folder, there is a Therapy Event Manual. If you click on that manual, it will open up a Word document, and on page 3 is an index, and you can click on the link that says Senior Fitness Test, and that will walk you through step-by-step for each section of the Senior Fit Test. It will give you norms. It will give you a score sheet. Everything is right there for you, and if you have questions, you can contact your clinical specialist for assistance. You can also contact Aaron, he has graciously provided his contact information. Now the email address is for the building, but any messages will be routed to him. So Aaron, what additional information would you like to share with us today about either the research or how you use this information in practice, or what golden nugget can you leave us with today?
I guess the golden nugget I would leave is just the senior fitness test could easily be overlooked, but we found that it was a very useful and a very simple tool that can be utilized in a short amount of time with very affordable, easy to handle materials, and it gives us very valuable insight into the functional potential of some of our patients.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for your time today, Aaron, and thank you for sharing the results of your study. For those of you that would like to jot down next month's topic, our 20-minute tune-in series will continue as a recorded webinar. And next month, we will be interviewing Justin Williams. Justin is an occupational therapist and area rehab manager in Virginia, and he is going to be sharing with us how he uses activity boxes that are based on Allen cognitive levels to keep residents engaged throughout the day, and how they've developed those, how they use those, and how you might be able to use them in your practice as well. So just as a reminder, the 20-minute tune-in will be a recording, and the links for those recordings will be found in the Legacy Focus for that month. So September's 20-minute tune-in link will be in the September edition of Legacy Focus. So until next time, be creative, be bold, be Legacy. Thanks for tuning in this month, and thank you, Aaron.
My pleasure.